And we're live. Dun, 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 dun. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lynchian Hangout on all things Lynchian. The Lynchian place where Lynchian, and Lynchian. My name is George Ray, your humble host, here live on YouTube. Or if you're catching this after we're live, then that's cool too. Just going to get the link started. Hang on just a moment. Okay. Just a few things. I just had to post a link to Twitter. So if you see the link, stop on by, leave a comment, or leave something in chat if you want. We're just going to be hanging out, talking all things David Lynch. Lynchian times. So, yeah. Hope everyone's had a good week and a good start to your week. I'm thinking about doing this every Monday, if that's all right with you guys. Since I'm mostly free on Mondays and Tuesdays, it's just how it is for me right now, but that could change or it cannot. I don't know. And hopefully we'll be able to get some cool guests on here at some point. I'm hoping. I've been talking to a few cool, crazy people about getting them on these streams and collaborating, and just want to be more a part of the Lynchian community if there is such a thing. But yeah, I'm just hustling, bustling, you know. And hope everyone's doing good. So last time I kind of mentioned what I want to talk about was Lynchian to you. And I think for tonight or for right now, I want to talk about my first Lynchian moment, or where I first experienced David Lynch. Years 2003. I was a little late to the Lynch game than most. Though I did see Dune as a child, completely went over my head. And doing that, it was, didn't really know. It was directed by David Lynch. I know who David Lynch was back then. I was just a dorky kid. So I'm not going to count Dune, since David Lynch doesn't really count Dune in his filmography. You know, I just don't count it. Like it or lump it. But so 2003, I'm 19 years old. I go to my public library and I check out a movie called Blue Velvet, and I watch it and it freaks me out. And I am scared of David Lynch at this point. Just the overall creepiness of it, the realistic violence, the aggression of Frank Booth, and the innocence being corrupted by Jeffrey Beaumont. Just all of it is very, very, very creepy. And it really shook me to my core, so to speak. And I was never the same since. And that was my really first moment, my first Lynchian experience. I think the scene that really did it for me, when I say did it for me, just really made me feel, wow, this David Lynch is quite an enigma. He is quite something else other than this world in cinema that I've ever experienced. And that was the famous scene of In Dreams, where Dean Stockwell, rest in peace. Sorry. Dean Stockwell lip syncs to the song In Dreams by Roy Orbison. and it's very freaky. It's very scary. It's very hauntingly beautiful. The way he takes the headlamp and just kind of rails on. And Frank Booth is just kind of possessed by his aura and the magic of the song, and he's just very moved. And it was really interesting seeing like a villain character being moved by something, having that kind of complexity of emotion to that character. It was something I never really saw in a villain before. And I thought that was really interesting. But that was the scene, and you have like, you know, the fat ladies kind of dancing, and I guess they're wigs, I'm not sure, but just overall just has that vibe that is just so Lynchian. So yeah, that was my first Lynchian experience. It was with Blue Velvets, and it was magical, it was scary, it was freaky, and I had a great time with it. I really did, so to speak. I just want to share that with you guys. No, it's not like much of a story, but that's kind of what I have on this channel, on these live streams, is kind of talk to people and get their what their first Lynchian experience was, and kind of share that together with each other and everything. So yeah, I think it's as David Lynch would say, a really great thing. I was checking the Twitter, nothing happening. It's kind of quiet. It's kind of dead tonight, I will say. But what can you do? We're just going to continue on. Hopefully people will come up and watch later after the stream. When I'm live, I never really get too many people coming in and saying hi. But we'll be on for at least an hour or so. And if you're here, feel free to say something. Feel free to say hello and share your first Lynchian experience. I'd really love to hear it. I'd really love to read it. So last time we dove into some Mulholland Drive theories on mulhollanddrive.net. I do want to continue those, but first I want to kind of discuss an elephant in the room in the Lynch Twin Peaks community, or just, I don't know. Maybe it's not like something that's really discussed, but I see it all the time in Facebook groups and different David Lynch Twin Peaks groups about the Twin Perfect video, which is kind of a controversial, I don't know, a controversial topic, maybe. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm still kind of in between. When I first watched it, I really loved it, but I wasn't so on board with the message. I mean, not the message, but the ideas that he was spewing out as facts. And I think that's very arrogant and very just, I don't know what other words I could use, but arrogant and very overconfident way of authority. And I'm very much against most things that are of authority, any kind of gatekeeping in any kind of fan community. I'm out. I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to talk to you. If you feel that you are like the gatekeeper and you presumably feel like you know all things and answers to, especially David Lynch's work, especially Twin Peaks, which is very, very, very close to my heart. It very much is. And it's something I really want to dive deeper into. I really want to do a video, like a proper analysis video on his analysis. I mean, he's a very talented guy. I'm not going to take that away from him. This video he's made, obviously, is very popular. You know, it's over 2 million views, which is great. And it's very well made and well put together. But I just think his attitude towards the topic is, I don't, I don't want to say like medieval, but it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. You know what I mean? It just kind of rubs me raw. It kind of just, I don't want to say makes me angry. It doesn't make me mad. Doesn't make me sad. I just feel that his approach isn't the greatest in terms of his attitude and his know-it-all kind of persona that he puts out. Again, I'm not trying to criticize the guy personally. I'm just kind of looking at his work, and at first I loved the video. I loved what he had to say, and I was kind of in agreement. But after I kind of re-listened to it again, I listen to most things on YouTube. I tend to listen to, since I have a job that allows me to listen to like podcasts and stuff while I'm working. So I tend to do that a lot. And listen to it the other night. It just kind of didn't like get to me, but I just feel that there are some meta aspects to Twin Peaks. Obviously, I do feel it is a commentary. If you haven't seen this video, is basic analysis. The dumbed down version I'm going to be talking about is basically him saying that Twin Peaks is a TV show that knows it's a TV show, and the characters know that they're in a TV show. And I don't think I really agree with that. I think it is a commentary on television for sure. There's definitely the aspects of it that he goes into, but it's just his dang attitude is kind of dang know-it-all, look at me. It's just very pretentious. I find that very pretentious, and I like pretentious things usually. I mean, I love pretentious film, or what's considered pretentious films. I mean, David Lynch is kind of known or kind of regarded as a very pretentious filmmaker. I don't see him as pretentious at all, but that's just me. But I found this video kind of pretentious, and kind of, he kind of has this longest disclaimer I've seen on any video, saying, do not watch this video if you want to enjoy the mystery of Twin Peaks. Even you, the Twin Peaks expert, can be spoiled, blah, blah, blah. And it's just things like that. And his theory is well researched and well thought out and well written. I'm assuming it's all written, because I don't think he could improvise something like that unscripted or on the spot. But the thing is, you still got to take a leap with it. You still got to go off and kind of take the leap with him and kind of agree, okay, yeah, I could see these connections. But he cherry picks a lot of random, out of context lines and moments and scenes from Twin Peaks, and uses as his thesis or as his proof of evidence. I mean, the whole title is Twin Peaks Actually Explained, in parentheses. Oh God, I can't talk. No, really, it's it just has that kind of attitude to it, and I really feel you can't. I don't know. I feel, especially with Lynch's work, especially how he doesn't want to explain his work. Yeah, he does go through interviews and takes a few things from Lynch on Lynch, the book of, I guess, interviews. I don't own that book personally. I definitely want to check it out and read into it more. But I'm kind of at the mind of a lot of people who are kind of negative towards it. It's just, I just think that he's wrong when he says this is the ultimate answer. If that's what he believes in, you can believe in whatever meaning and what things mean and theories you want for anything, for any work of arts. And especially with David Lynch's work, he wants you to have your own experience and your own interpretation. I just feel like it's just the way it's approached is very cold and methodical, and I usually like methodical things, but in terms of this, I don't know. I don't think I really dig it. Again, I really think it's a well thought out video, well researched, well put together. High kudos. He's a very talented guy, Twin Perfect. But I just don't agree with his approach and his attitude towards this is what this means, and there's no other way. You can't refute what I'm saying, and I guess I'm sort of a critic to it. I know what Twin Peaks means to me, and I feel I have an understanding of what it is to myself. I'm not going to preach and say this is the only way to look at Twin Peaks. There are a lot of ways to look at Twin Peaks, and there's sort of a meta aspect. And you could look at it like, oh, this is just these characters know that they're in a TV show, and and he brings up a lot of great points that are pretty brilliant. I won't deny that some of it is brilliant. I just don't agree with the attitude. Like this is the end all be all of meaning of what Twin Peaks is. I feel, and he kind of glosses over a lot of the third season or the return, which I felt was, if I could give one big criticism for that video, I would say that he kind of glosses over things, or he kind of treats season 3 like a meme, like Tremont's Chalfonts, Twin Peaks memes is equals Twin Peaks show. And I think the whole ending is something that fascinates me the most about the return. I'm obsessed with the ending, with the last scene. I just think it's brilliant, and I didn't know what to feel about it at first. It kind of traumatized me in a good way. I didn't know what I experienced firsthand, but I knew that this was a very bold move to end Twin Peaks on, at least this incarnation of Twin Peaks. I knew people were not going to like it. I said to myself, well, people are going to hate this ending. And I look at it my way, he looks at it his way, and it's a good thing. We can all disagree respectfully. I'm not saying the guy's dumb or wrong. I just feel that his attitude towards the subject, I feel, is I don't know. I feel like I have to be careful what I say here because I don't want to alienate anyone who likes this video or doesn't like the video. I just feel that his approach isn't the I don't want to say it's right. It isn't right morally. Like, you can't tell me that you, who is just as on the same level of a fan as I am of Twin Peaks, that this is what this means, and this is the ultimate answer, and everything I believe in or feel is wrong. Maybe he's not saying that, specifically, but his attitude and the way he approaches the subject is kind of what he's saying. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. I may do a video, more in-depth video, kind of going into some of the things he talks about in more detail. But I just kind of want to mention it because it's been on my mind, and it's been on my mind for a while. And I'm in the middle of a rewatch right now, and I kind of just, I can acknowledge what he believes in and what he states in his essay. But Twin Peaks means what Twin Peaks to me. I really like it is an actual world that the characters are living in, that it's not just they know they're in a television show. I don't really agree with that. It's interesting, but I don't agree with it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Or something. I don't know. Don't listen to me. I'm just an idiot on the internet, kind of just spewing away. But yeah. Anyways, let's get into more Mulholland Drive theories, huh? Shall we? We're 20 minutes in. I think that's good of point as any to get into some theories. All right, here we go. So last time we went through this column, this row from up to down, down to up. I don't remember a lot of these theories from a week ago, but I know I had a good time reading them. And let's go through this one. The bribery theory. All right, let's get this started. The assertion here is that the money scene ready to be handed over by Diane to Joe in the weekly scene is not a payoff for a contract to kill Camilla. Rather, it is money paid to Joe in some way to influence the casting of Camilla in the film, starting her off on the road to stardom. Interesting. From this point of view, a case can be made that the Winky scene happens prior to the dinner party scene. This reading argues that Diane is remembering the Winky scene at the moment of her betrayal. It's often implied that the dinner party is the breaking point for Diane and the moment that she makes the decision to have Camilla killed. Isn't it possible that the connection between the two scenes is not Diane reaching a breaking point, then deciding to have Camilla hit, but rather Diane reaching a breaking point because of the fact that the woman who she loved and helped has betrayed her? Considering that, Diane might have used her money to make connections to further her own career rather than Camilla becomes a tragic irony. As director is now marrying the girl that he didn't want to cast. Thus, Diane's money is not only a missed opportunity for herself, but also ends up being a key factor in taking Camilla away from her. Another option is that Camilla got her big break with another director on the Sylvia North story, which led to a role of Adam Kesher. I was going to say, didn't Adam Kesher direct the Sylvia North story? No, but I think it was Bob Brooker. From what I recall. Either way, it works against Diane's intent. Diane's suicide in these circumstances is explained by her lost love, failure in Hollywood, and Camilla's duplicity. Perhaps her stuff packed up in boxes is a suggestion that Diane is leaving Hollywood, returning home, a failure, another contributing factor towards her suicide. Is Blue Key Diane staring down on a coffee table, reminder of Diane's inheritance wasted on an untrue love. Part of the inspiration for the series based around David Lynch's clue number 8, the talent alone helped Camilla. In Diane's dream, blonde Camilla Rhodes is forced upon director Adam Kesher by apparent mobsters, the Cascadian brothers. I don't know how to pronounce that. Kesher also takes a trip to see the cowboy who reinforces the their recommendation. Is this a reflection of real life, suggesting that the real Camilla Rhodes is cast in the film against the will of the director? Certainly, we can make the argument that it reflects reality, as it is argued that other things do so. So the answer to the clue would be no, talent alone did not help Camilla. Diane and her money helped too. Perhaps the hitman incident in the dream shows us Joe trying to move up in the world, knocking off Ed to get Ed's black book, numbers connected to wise guys, i.e. guys that are connected. The book might allow Joe access to guys that can put the right heat onto Adam. That Ed is connected to the mob can be assumed by the spaghetti and meatball poster behind his desk. Diane tells us at the dinner party that Camilla helped her out by getting her some parts in some films. Was this Camilla's repayment to Diane? Was it more feasible that Camilla could get the role that Diane helped her to get? With Diane perhaps being more of an outsider or unknown quantity in Hollywood, so really the money was to further both their careers, with Camilla on the verge of becoming a breakout star. She just needed that perfect role. This leads us to consider the idea that if one person can make it in Hollywood, it helps the people around that person as well. Was Diane to be swept up along on the coattails of Camilla's gravy train? We need to believe that Lynch was quite deceptive with us. No shit. I don't think that noises tend to put people into flashbacks, but to take them out of the daydream. We are shown Diane turning to react to the broken china at the party, and we then see her turn her head to react to it in the diner, both places. But I don't think there's any broken china at the party. I don't recall ever seeing that. We don't hear crash, crash. We hear one crash. Yes, this would be very deceptive. And while I know Lynch wants to put on a good mystery, that would seem to cross the line. Yeah. I don't know. Problems with this interpretation. Why should Diane give up the money to help Camilla to get a part in the film when her own dream is to be a great actress / movie star? Is her love for Camilla that strong that she's willing to possibly pass up the chance of a career in Hollywood herself? It could be quite difficult to imagine Joe as a guy connecting enough to make something like the casting of an actress happen. I definitely agree with this. Additionally, Joe is not seen in the daydream as necessarily connected to the Cascalians and the casting of Blonde Camilla. Instead, he is seen scavenging the streets for a beat-up brunette looking to finish the job. Yeah. So I'm kind of on the agreement with this theory that no, I'm not in agreement. I mean, I'm in agreement of why this theory is wrong, why this theory could be wrong. Not that any theories are wrong or right or whatever. I'm not trying to contradict myself. But I mean, the hitman Joe doesn't seem like well connected into Hollywood. He just seems like a very run-of-the-mill kind of cheap hitman, who will get the job done. He'll get the job done, and no matter what it takes, or under any kind of circumstances, as we see in the scene, the hilarious scene with him murdering like 3 people. He's certainly messy. He certainly doesn't really know what he's doing, according to that, or that could just be Diane's hope and her interpretation that maybe the hit maybe he failed in killing Camilla. So yeah, the series okay, but it's easy to poke holes into it. But let's move on to the next one. A different form of revenge. Okay. It struck me as odd, Harry. That reminds me of the lead scene in The Missing Pieces with Cooper and Truman from the final scene from season 2. Struck me as odd that Diane would dream that the casting of the lead role in the Sylvia North story was a recasting. What would cause that, and did it really happen? A recasting might happen if the original actress cast in the role were to die or simply disappear. Could someone have orchestrated that? We know from the reality segment of the film that Camilla Rhodes had the lead in the Sylvia North story. However, we don't have any background on how she got the part. In the dream segment, a girl is still missing leads to a recasting where strong-arm tactics, somewhat supernatural at times, are used to pressure the director to cast an actress named Camilla Rhodes. Could the dream accurately depict how the real Camilla Rhodes got the part? This plays directly into one of David Lynch's clues, the same one, number 8, where the question is asked whether talent alone helped Camilla. The usual interpretation is that Camilla used her sex appeal to further her career, but could something more sinister have happened? There's no doubt there's a lot of competition for the role. Diane admitted wanting it at the dinner party. In the dream, the high-powered casting agent whisks Betty for an impromptu audition for the part, which he says that Betty could kill. Interesting choice of words, but it was clearly a highly prized role for any actress. So who could have eliminated the original actress? If Diane had arranged it, then it certainly didn't do her any good since she didn't get the part. However, it is consistent that the phone calls about the girl still being missing wound up going to what we later learn is Diane's phone. And if that's the case, then the dream is all about what else could Diane have done to become the role. She eliminated the competition, but forgot or couldn't afford to strong-arm the director. She shot the sheriff, but didn't shoot the deputy. Camila, on the other hand, looks like a better candidate to have killed for a part. She did get the part and certainly had the same motivation as Diane in having it. In Diane's dream, Camila/Rita is loaded with money. Although Diane shows Joe a bundle of cash for dealing with Camila in the reality segment, it pales in comparison to what comes out of Rita's purse in the dream. Camila would seem to have more money to buy her way into a role, both through her contract killing and intimidation. Camila in the dream also acts like she's guilty of something. She's afraid of the cops for no good reason. She reacts to the dead body as if she were responsible for it. Could the dead body be the original lead actress? The easy answer is that the corpse is the dead Diane who died of a broken heart or suicide after being rejected by Camila. However, it could also be a corpse from Camila's past manifested in Diane Selwyn's apartment. Now, Diane, on the other hand, doesn't show any fear or reaction to detectives asking about her. Even in the reality segment, after Diane awakes and answers the door to the lamp lady, that's funny, she shows no reaction to being told two detectives were looking for her. Curiosity should have prompted her to ask what did they want. The assumption is that the detectives were looking at Camila's disappearance or death, but isn't that premature? I don't think so, but let's continue. And if they were really looking for a disappearance or a death of Camila, wouldn't they have questioned the lamp lady as well, at least asking if she had ever seen Camila around the complex? It's more likely that the detectives were investigating an older event filled with grammatical and spelling errors, perhaps even one that Diane contracted them about in the first place. If Diane knew Camila was involved in the disappearance or death of the first actress cast in the Sylvia North role, then it might shed a different light on Diane's relationship with Joe and how Diane could get revenge on Camila. Rather than killing Camila, Diane could expose her. The whole Blue Key of Joe is strange and overly dramatic, if not downright melodramatic. No, I don't agree with that. Classically, the Blue Key is viewed as the way Joe would tell Diane that Camila had been killed. But that doesn't make a lot of sense. If Camila disappears or dies, it'd be pretty common knowledge that Diane would be aware of it since she's in Camila and Adam's inner circle. Yeah, but it's also an agreement between her and the hitman, and the Blue Key is signifying that the job is done. Diane, and also it helps the audience, not that this film holds your hand, but it does kind of inform the audience that Camila is indeed killed, if you look at it that way. But that doesn't make a lot of sense. If Camila disappears or dies, it would be pretty common knowledge, and Diane would be aware of it since she's in Camila and Adam's inner circle. Diane does ask what the key opens, and Joe just laughs at her. It would be ludicrous for him to give her a key to where he might have stashed a body. That would put Diane directly in line with the murder charge. Okay. Hold on. Okay. 5 water. Never mind. On the other hand, Diane's dream, Joe is not an assassin. That role apparently belonged to Ed, and although it didn't go as planned, he hasn't worried about it. He wasn't worried about it. This reinforces the notion that merely ensuring a missing actress was enough for whatever paid the bill. Joe's role in Diane's dream is to steal Ed's history of the world and phone numbers. To get it, he shoots Ed and 2 others, but does not wind up with Ed's book. But does wind up with Ed's book. Yeah, I was going to say he takes it. Does this book prove Camila was connected, ordered, and paid for the disappearance of her competition for the lead role of Sylvia North? Would it prove complicitly in strong aiming that film's director into choosing her for the part? It's also possible to argue that the actress rendered missing by Ed might have survived. Perhaps she was disfigured from an accident and maybe even had amnesia. And in Diane's dream, Joe is looking for her, tracking her down as a now bruised, street-walking prostitute. Yeah. Another one of David Lynch's clues, number 4, states that an accident is a terrible event. Notice the location of the accident. The only accident in the film takes place in Diane's dream. It appears to take place on Mulholland Drive, supposedly where Camilla had Diane's limo ride stopped to take a shortcut to the dinner party in the reality segment. There is, however, a strategic difference. In the dream, there is a street lamp in front of the stopped limo. The lamp looks strangely residential in nature, a lamp more likely to be found down the hill rather than on the dark and meandering Mulholland Drive. In fact, the lamp looks specifically identical to those seen outside of the Havenhurst apartment building, while the 2 detectives are seen driving by during Diane's dream segment. This would support the idea that an accident did happen to the original lead actress, but that it really didn't take place in Mulholland Drive, but rather in a more common area, and the actress might not even have been in a car. Yeah. Now, in the reality segment, when Diane is hiring Joe, he already has a book which is similar to the one Diane's dreams he takes from Ed. This doesn't preclude whether Ed's book is similar to Joe's, or if Diane's dream merely filled in any book as a needed detail. In all probability, Ed's book might be considerably smaller than the one seen in the dream segment. I do postulates the idea that Camila is alive and that Diane was only getting evidence to put her away and out of the way. Does this impact the ending of the movie? Ultimately, no. At its core, this film is a love story. Yes, Diane loves Camila. Camila does not or cannot love Diane back. If Camila is the one for Diane, and Diane's future is empty and lonely. I believe this is Diane's inherent conflict, and throughout the film, she's confronting it and seeking ways to avoid it. Whether she is Camilla killed, whether she turns her into prison for life or death sentence, or simply does nothing, Camilla will not be the part of Diane's life that she craves. Yeah, this one was just mental jumping jacks. I don't know. It was, yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about a lot of these, honestly. Maybe I'm just a hypocrite and feel like my interpretation is the only correct one, which is the popular. But I feel like a lot of these are just trying to be contrarian from, Occam's razor is the most likely answer is the correct one, or the easiest answer is the correct one. The paraphrasing here. Let's continue. We're going to do 5 more, and we're going to call it a night. I got some other stuff I have to work on. So, Betty and Rita, light and dark side of Diane. I believe I've arrived at an integrated theory of the dream. I could be wrong, but I'm just not yet able to find significant holes in it. I'm aware of 2 major interpretations of Mulholland Drive. That the purpose of Diane's dream is that she wanted to be Camilla and also wanted to own Camilla. For Camilla to be dependent on her, in essence, to switch roles. In this formulation, Rita is a reinterpretation of Camilla primarily in body, but is more like Diane in soul and mind. Number 2, that the purpose of Diane's dream is her wish to split off her dark/evil side in the person of Rita from her light good side, Betty. Okay. So in reality, Betty and Rita equals Diane. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely possible. When Diane's dream fantasy, Diane becomes Betty, assuming she can cast off Rita and keep them divorced, although this eventually fails. Anyway, this theory is not really an integration of 2 purposes of roughly equal importance. The second theory is by far the most important one that points to the central purpose. The first becomes a part of the second by simply being absorbed by it. And note that I said the second story points to the central purpose. Yes, even the second theory isn't the overriding purpose, but it puts us on the way to it. Okay, Diane does not expect to be rid of her dark half, so she wants to reconcile with it. Come to terms with it. Jesus Christ. Spell check, grammar check, please. except that Foley is a real part of her. In other words, live with it to the fullest extent possible because it's really herself. But there's more. Diane believes that the only way to fully accomplish this is to fall in love with her dark half, really herself, the rest of herself. But she needs more. She needs to have it. Rita, love her back. When you think about it, this is all natural enough. I mean, Diane simply wants to love herself, Betty plus Rita. This is something that as human beings, we all want to do, in fact, need to do. Now, Diane is Betty in the dream as she views her good side as dominant. Mistakenly, we'll see. Although it's latent in real life, she does not know until the end of the dream that Rita, her dark side, is the true dominant side. I don't really see Rita as like being all that dark, though. She's just kind of lost. We never see her have a dark side. She's just lost in confusion. More like a void, I guess, but let's continue. You might wonder that if the purpose of Rita in the dream was not to represent Camilla, why does Rita look like her? To make Diane's dark side as attractive as possible, making her easier to fall in love with? For reasons I'd like to discuss later, I believe Rita is the bum, just all dressed up and made lovable. It was no random choice for Lynch to cast a female in that bum's role. Note that other than Diane, only 2 individuals ever handled the blue box, which I think somehow represents Diane's soul, Rita and the bum. Yes, interesting. Dan, the dark-haired guy at Winky's, is the only witness to the evil act of Diane's. In a deeper sense, he's actually a witness to Diane's dark half in action. In witnessing the transaction with the hitman at Winky's, Diane can't repress her act nor her dark side, even in the dream. She's actually trying to reconcile with her dark side in the dream in the guise of the bum all dressed up as Rita. But on a more superficial level, if she can kill Dan off, she can at least get through her dream easier, pretending that her dark side isn't that bad. Thus, she kills off the only witness to it and proceeds to gradually cozy up to her dressed up dark side, Rita, with the hopes of a reconciliation with it and acceptance. The result is that Diane will love herself. Diane/Betty needs Rita's expressions of love for her in order to become really whole again. Diane believes that she somehow has to fall in love with her dark side, really herself, but she knows that this is not enough. She sees her dark side as a separate entity as well. Compartmentalizing, yeah, I can see that. And as a separate energy, and as a separate entity, it/Rita would have to fall in love with Diane as Betty as well for Diane to become whole. The dark would still exist, but no longer as a separate entity. It would be absorbed by the dominant Diane as Betty. As a whole being finally in love with herself, Diane believes that not only would her suicidal depression naturally abate, but her latent powers that she truly believes she has will naturally emerge and shine, e.g. talent, self-confidence, lovability, attractiveness, etc. And in real life, there's much truth to this idea. Later on in the scene from the reality part of the film, Camila calls, but Diane doesn't pick it up right away. The answering machine repeats the message, "Hello, it's me, leave a message." This shows that in the dream, Betty is actually calling herself, i.e. Diane, while trying to discover Rita's identity. It really seems as if Diane's dream presents 2 aspects of herself, Betty and Rita, calling Diane what looks like an attempt of self-identification. So the key scene in the dream is in bed, where Rita does not return Betty's expressions of love for her, but she kisses Betty. Wait, so the key scene in the dream is in bed. Rita does not return Betty's expressions of love for her. And this is precisely where the dream stands to go out of control and come apart. After they make love, we see their faces merge, camera shot of them in bed. It becomes clear, though, in the whole context that what's happening is that Betty is being absorbed by Rita. Note that right after this, Betty starts to lose control and become dominated by Rita as Rita practically drags Betty off to Silencio. No, Betty's facial expression on the journey to Silencio. For the first time, she's lost Brian out of control, more like Diane. Finally back in the room after the discovery of the blue box, Betty is the first to disappear as she becomes completely absorbed by Rita. All right, that one was pretty interesting. There's one part that kind of confused me, but maybe that's just a brain fart I'm having. I'm not really sure. But I think, when you're in dreams, every character is yourself. That would mean, yeah, every character in Diane's dream, if we're going to call it a dream, is that her different sides are separating compartmentalized into these different characters, be it Rita, Adam, Coco, Joe, Dan, the list kind of goes on. So yeah, I like that theory. I think it works more as in the metaphorical sense, not in a literal sense. So yeah. Let's continue. Diane dreamt twice. Has it occurred to anyone besides me that Dan is speaking Diane when he says, it's the second one I've had, but they're both the same? I think he means that Diane has the same dream twice. The central questions then are, when in relation to the incidents recalled in flashback did she dream? When in relation to the dreams did she have the flashbacks? Did she have all those flashbacks between the two dreams after the first dream? Or some between the dreams and some after the second dream? I suspect that the lights out in the Adam Camilla make out in the front seat indicates the passing of a night between that flashback and the next. That could mean that she slept and dreamt the second time between those two flashbacks. Well, the events recalled in flashbacks after the second dream could have occurred before or after the first dream, but she definitely went to the party before the first dream and paid Joe after the first dream. I think it all happened. Let's pause. All right, this is what chronologically. I think this is what happened. This is my opinion. The first thing that happened that we see in the film, mind you, is we see Camila and Adam in the front seat on set, and Diane witnesses this. Then Diane and Camilla get together and have sex, make out, the scene where they're both topless and she's passing the drink to Camila. Camilla wants to call things off. She wants to call things off. Diane kicks her out. Diane masturbates. That whole scene, in my opinion, kind of comes after that. And then later at night, or the next night, Diane gets a call from Camilla about the car waiting for her to go to the party. She meets her in Mulholland Drive, where she imagines the car accident going wrong was actually the last moment that she felt loved by Camilla, I think, anyways. And so from there on, she goes to dinner party. She sees that Camilla has replaced Diane with the blonde Camilla, who we know the blonde Camilla in the dream, but it's actually just probably some actress. We never get her name. And that she is going to be married to Adam. Next morning, Diane takes her money to Joe at Winky's and pays him in full. Then after that, I believe Diane inhales a drug, either smokes some pot or does cocaine. No, maybe not cocaine, or does something, and then she inhales something and then falls asleep. And then we get the dream. Then she wakes up and she receives the blue key. Her ex-lover or person she switched the apartments with takes her belongings. And Diane reminisces on the guilt, and it kind of gets to her where she finally kills herself. That's what I think chronologically happens in Mulholland Drive. That's just me. If you're different, then that's cool too. So where were we? Diane had at least one initial face-to-face, or perhaps doggy style, meaning concerning the contract with Joe. At that meeting, which isn't shown in the movie, he described the blue key but didn't show it to her. That is what you need to deposit 8 butts in her ashtray. Interesting. He probably smoked a couple of cigs after each roll in the sack with her. The meeting may have been either before or after the engagement party at Adams. And she dreamt for the first time, like Dan the cowboy was talking directly to Diane. If she did good by not paying Joe for the hit, she would not have the dream again. So the cowboy would not look on her twice. When she got up from the first dream, the key was not yet on the coffee table. All the flashback events precede the first dream, but Diane has the flashbacks after the second dream because they all happen after we see the blue key on the table. Sometime after the first dream, Joe dialed Diane's extension on an in-house phone system connected to that big answering machine before the bed. Sierra Bonita is probably a 5 call girls, each with one of those big answering machines. Joe may have been Diane's pimp. I could see that. The ringer on the answer machine is turned off, but the phone by the red lamp rings. Joe tells Diane to meet him at Winky's in 5 minutes, so the cops won't have time to set up surveillance in case she's setting him up. If this is the hairy arm call to number 4, then Diane must have anticipated the first time she dreamt that is possible. Since it's not the first time Joe has called her and there were 8 butts in the ashtray when she went to bed before the first dream. However, I believe the fact that the butts are precisely the same and even the window light is the same in dream and flashback is David Lynch telling us the call happened before the first dream. If the hairy arm call preceded the first dream, it must have been Joe calling about an additional meeting at her place. It could not have been her first contact with Joe unless the butts belong to someone else, or they could belong to her, but no one else is shown in the movie with brown filter cigarettes. Diane does bad by paying Joe to kill Camilla. Days later, she finds the blue key in the arranged place, brings it home, sets it on the coffee table, goes to bed and dreams again. She's awakened by the neighbor coming for her dishes and the red lamp. The shade of the lamp is packed with the dishes. We see her wrap up the cord with a sock attached, a bulb in the socket protected by a paper thing. Was it the same lamp, though, as the one on her bedside or in that room? I don't know if it's the same one. Lamp base is very small. I couldn't see it on my TV. Perhaps it's also packed with the dishes. The red lamp was in number 17 before the switch. But I don't believe we see it before the switch. Diane hallucinates that Camilla has come back from the dead and has a series of flashbacks. The knock on the door panics Diane and she kills herself. Actually, it was not the detectives at the door, but Ed McMahon and the prize patrol. I don't believe Diane dreamt that after she shot herself, the blue key in the king she did bad was on the table when she got up from the second dream. If she did bad before the first dream, the cowboy's warning would be pointless. The only thing that comes after she shoots herself is silencio. When the cowboy looks in the second time, the corpse is rotting and the mattress is ripped. Maybe somebody like Joe, though Diane had more cash hidden, thought Diane had more cash hidden in the mattress. Jesus. Get your shit together, mulhollanddrive.net. That one was good. That one was okay. But, I mean, I've always thought that the first bulk of the film was a dream and the second bulk was a nightmare and the truth kind of ends up in the gray. Sometimes I feel like, everything that happened in the second half of the film influenced Diane in her dream, simple as the name tag of Betty, or seeing the cowboy at the party, seeing the Angelo Badalamenti character at the party, and the Sylvia North story scene on the sets. So, all right. Let's do 3 more. And then I'm calling it. Uh, Diane was murdered. Diane met Camilla on the set of the Sylvia North story. Camilla and Diane became friends. Camilla was an unknown at the time, just like the blonde Camilla shown in the dream sequence. She had powerful friends, the Casglian brothers, who put her in the starring role. She did not succeed by talent alone. She and Diane had a brief sexual relationship. During this time, Camilla used her influence to get Diane small parts in films. Camilla's success was due to her ties to the Castelline brothers, and they also dictated to her the way she should live her life and the image she should protect to the public. They advised her to stay away from Diane. The risk of her lesbian affair getting out due to a highly volatile Diane would be contrary to her image, which seems from looking at her role in the Sylvia North story, which probably launched her career to be rather old-fashioned and wholesome, a 1950s type heroine. The Castellan brothers stood to lose a substantial amount of their investment in this girl if it became public that she was a lesbian. That was not the kind of attention Camilla needed at this early stage in her career. So we see the love scene on the couch. Yes, Camilla is very attracted to Diane. If you say she was slumming, well, sometimes we can't help who we're attracted to. In fact, in Aunt Ruth's kitchen, a bowl of forbidden fruit appears magically where the bunch of keys were. Interesting. The Castellan brothers, knowing her weakness for women, introduced her to blonde Camilla, who was in their circles and was a woman who could be trusted. They own blonde Camilla as well. Okay. I'm kind of liking this one. Let's continue. Anyway, Camilla was strong-armed into breaking off the relationship. Diane assumed it was because of Adam, and she was partially right. The Castellan brothers took Adam under their wing as well. As shown in the dream sequence, he was given an ultimatum, made the right choice, and is doing what he can to prove his loyalty, including his romantic involvement with Camilla. I believe his mother, Coco, is very savvy to the ways of the world, and especially Hollywood. She's been around that scene for a while and knows exactly what is going on. She is somewhat disgusted with the whole thing, but knows her place and must play along. Inside, she feels pity for Diane, but cannot show it overly from fear of Mr. Castellan. Thus, the subtle eye rolls, polite conversation, finding the "I'm sorry, dear" hand pat. Well, she says, "I see," but I guess the hand pat is like, "I'm sorry, dear." Remember, Mr. Castellan is watching very intently. He needs Diane to have an emotional breakdown in front of many witnesses. The girl is still missing. Diane is late for the pool party. The car is waiting. It is very important that Diane be seen at the party and can be seen as visibly upset. She's lured into a trap, one that sets up her murder. Yes, I believe Diane was murdered by the Castellan brothers, and they make it look like a suicide even to us. The old people in the beginning get into a limo later. They drive Diane to her death. It is the Castellan brothers limo. Interesting. Who is Eyebrow Guy? The Castellan brothers have been watching Diane's every move. They know about the hit. They know about the blue key. Troubled Eyebrow Guy has heard everything, or at least saw the picture in the key. The Castellan brothers hitman talks to Joe. This is how it goes in the dream. Joe kills Ed and makes it look like a suicide. He takes the black book, which represents the key. Joe represents the Castellan's hitman and his later MO with Diane. He is wearing the trademark gangster pinky ring. He engages Ed in conversation. Ed mentions an accident, laughing about it. Joe says, "I hope you're not going to get in any trouble." In the dream, an accident prevents Camilla from getting killed. In reality, I believe Diane paid Joe to have Camilla hurt in some way, but Joe had no intention of doing so. He ripped her off and laughed about it, telling every detail to CB hitman who killed Joe and took the key. Adam's cowardly act of revenge towards his wife leaves a mark with pink paint, much like Diane's cowardly act of revenge leaves her marked for death. Interesting. That is why the scene with the hooker when Joe is looking for a new girl on the street has such a pink theme. Who is this homeless woman? Possibly represents the horrible, treacherous, ugly events that take place to preserve the image of beauty and purity. Oh, I like that. Trouble guy Diane knows about it, confides it in someone, threatens to expose it, and it kills him/her. That's why it is shown killing. That's why it's shown killing Diane at the end. That is the meaning of the smoke, the illusion, Club Silencio. As long as the illusion is preserved, the blue-haired lady lives. As long as sacrifices are brought into Club Silencio, as Rita brought Betty, she stays beautiful. The blue box is Club Silencio. The homeless woman is the blue-haired lady. That is why it looks to be the same path to CS as to behind Winkies. That is why HW has the box and why Betty is given the box. Diane had to be sacrificed. Rita Camilla decides to take her to Club Silencio rather than follow her heart and turns to Betty's love. The song Crying represents this choice. Ooh, 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 ooh. I like it. I like it. I don't think Diane was murdered, because the whole thing in Reported View, the whole emphasis of the story is a love tragedy, at least in my opinion. And I agree with most of it, but I really feel that Diane killed herself rather than being murdered. It could have been a possibility, I think that the look of the Angelo Badalamenti character, because I cannot pronounce the Castelline brothers, was one of like, I own you, and the only way out is death. So I feel like Diane is trapped in this kind of sexual slavery type Hollywood dream, and that the only way out Camilla was the one bright spot in her life, and now that's gone. She has something to live for. She kills Camilla, or responsible for killing Camilla, and she can't take the guilt. And her life is one of that's trapped in this kind of being sexually dominated by these forces and emotionally dominated. So she decides to take her own life. That would bring anyone to the brink of death, in my opinion. But let's continue. The abortion theory. Let's see. I don't think I read this one before. These recent references to clinical psychological states, Diane's sexual history, and the Great Blue Box debate have come together in my mind in the following way. The film Mulholland Drive may be viewed as a highly personal and symbolic psychosis on the part of Diane Selwyn concerning her complicated past and the death of her child by a form of abortion. This child, a girl, would have grown up to become, in Diane's mind, the woman we know as Rita. Rita is not Diane's lover, but her projected child. And Diane's love that is rejected by Rita is the love of a parent being rejected by their offspring. But Rita doesn't. Camilla rejects Diane. Rita is, never mind. From the room-like locations of Havenhurst and Sierra Bonita to the nursery colors that flood the film to the references to abortion and subsequent regret, this film outlines a descent into a depressive psychosis ending in maternal suicide resulting from a prenatal death. From Coco's Trembling Madam-like appearance as the manager of the Havenhurst courtyard, where she advises Betty to get rid of the troublesome childlike Rita, whom has been spotted accidentally, to the reverse birth and therefore death of Rita Camilla via the blue box. The images of male expectation read, the girl is still missing. We see an anguished mind trying to deal with the guilt of loss. It could also be a loss of love, loss of things not working out, loss of a dream. It also seems possible that Diane was convinced to go through with the abortion by others, including Coco, but that it was a car accident rather than the actions of a doctor that actually resulted in her prenatal death. Furthermore, it's possible to regard the hitman chuckling with his buddy in the flea pit office as uncaring men in the male world, laughing at the irony of a fetus being aborted as a result of an automobile accident that took place while the expectant mother was on her way to, or more tragically back from, an abortion clinic. An accident is a terrible event. What would be more terrible than deciding at the last minute to reject an abortion procedure only to have the mother miscarry on the trip home? It's also possible that no specific man could be regarded as the father if, as has been suggested, Diana was working as a semi-professional prostitute, although cigarette butts continue to implicate her, it seems. They could be her cigarette butts, even though we never see her smoking, but okay, possibly under the control of Coco or her aunt. It is possible that she herself may be unclear on the matter. It is also possible that Adam Kesher may be an idealized lover / father who was, in Diane's mind, already rejected the mother to embrace the daughter. And this way, the final dinner scene is a bizarre public acknowledgement of Adam's preference for his daughter Camila. And this also resonates with the images of incest that occur earlier in the famous audition sequence. The kiss between the blonde and the brunette Camilla at the party could also be construed as the kiss between a replacement mother and a projected daughter. Diane's encounter with their former flatmate, DeRosa, the butch to her femme in traditional interpretations, may be viewed as an encounter with the kind of female father who is unconscious of his or her link to the projected Rita, as is critical at first glance. One could also, by extension, argue that Rita is a phantom pregnancy that the child that Diane and DeRosa would have had if they had reproduced together. Interesting that when Betty and Rita probe into the silent, dark apartment in Sierra Bonita while seeking to discover Rita's identity and perhaps parentage, they find the slimy husk of a dead girl who echoes the dead body of Diane following her suicide. Bit of a stretch, but there's not enough evidence to me. I do feel like Lynch leaves a breadcrumb trail to lead into answers, so to speak. But let's continue on. Let's do one more. Last one, 2 drug trips. Sounds good. 2 drug trips. I assume most of us know the dream theory in which the first 3/4 of the film is a dream and the rest is reality, coupled with flashbacks. My theory is a small modification of that theory, but nonetheless has far-reaching applications. In my theory, instead of a dream, Diane is having a drug trip hallucination or some sort, possibly LSD, although I've never experienced that stuff myself, so I can say. I mean, I've done acid before. Side note, I've done acid, I've tripped before, and there are hallucinations, but not like of imaginary people, at least not in my experience, and I've had quite a few experiences. Each drugs could have been the mysterious contents of the blue box, which would explain why the blue box is such a prevalent symbol throughout her trip as a source of suspense, mystery, death, and decay, the unveiling of which jolts her back to reality. Additionally, this theory would explain all the trippy scenes in the film, including the jitterbug contest in the beginning and the hallucinations or flashbacks at the end. According to this theory, in the beginning of the movie, Diane takes acid, trips out to a hallucination of a jitterbug contest, somehow finds her way to bed, and passes out. After her acid trip dream, okay, if it's an acid trip dream, I guess that's different. She wakes up to the sound of her neighbor knocking. This part of the film was almost undoubtedly reality and not part of the trip. And so her neighbor must exist. Since her neighbor exists in both reality and in her dream, we now have reason to believe that the other characters in her dream may exist in the reality of this film as well. After her neighbor leaves, however, we discover that her acid trip is not over yet. She hallucinates Camilla for a moment before regaining her hold on reality. But eventually the hallucinations win, and she slips back into another trip dream the moment she relaxes on her couch. The reason I consider this a trip and not a flashback is because it was morning when she sat down, she had a cup of coffee, but then she wakes up, it's nighttime, and she still has a full cup of coffee, indicating that she has been doing nothing but sitting there the whole time, not to mention she looks really messed up at that point in the film. At the end, her final hallucinations of the old people cause her to retreat and in panic to her room where she commits suicide via a gun that is stored snugly by her box of drugs. Maybe a good reason to have a gun in the first place. Thus, the movie boils down to two hallucinatory drug trips connected by one short excursion to reality and a short semi-lucid, semi-hallucinatory period immediately before her death. Under this interpretation, neither of Diane's two trips may be an accurate portrayal of the events in reality. Both trips may merely be hallucinations based on reality. Or a second trip may be a more lucid retelling of actual events through her hallucinations. Nonetheless, I think we can safely say that the overlapping features of the two trips may be taken to be representations of reality. For example, the fact that the hitman character was a hitman in both trips means that he was probably a hitman in the reality of the film and that he did indeed kill people. Who these people are, we do not know. Camila was Diane's lover in both trips, so that is most likely true as well. Also, by this reasoning, the director is in fact a director. Diane's neighbor is her neighbor. Diane is in fact an actress. The jitterbug contest happened. The bug behind Winkies exists, and the blue box is a significant object in her reality, source of drugs. However, whether Coco is the landlord or the director's mother is not known. I think she's the mother. Also, what actually happened on Mulholland Drive is not known either, etc. Another related theory I have is that the first speaker at Club Silencio is actually Diane's consciousness, and he's trying to tell her that she's tripping out and that what she's experiencing is not real by saying things like it is all an illusion, and she shakes violently and realizes it in realization. To drive the point home, her consciousness kills Rebecca Del Rio mid-song. Note, Rebecca's scene may have been representative of Diane drifting back to the trip and away from consciousness. So Rebecca's death is representative of her consciousness finally prevailing over the hallucination. Right then is when Diane regains control of her trip, produces the blue key, allowing her to finally solve the mystery of the blue box that has plagued her from the beginning and escapes back to reality. Okay. Well, I don't think she was like tripping out. I think she was inhaling something before her dream, which sorry, I don't mean to sound like I'm tired and bored. But we hear her like inhaling something, or maybe she's just breathing deeply in a panic. I'm not sure. But oh no, these are some interesting theories. I don't really agree with them. I think I'm in the dream theory side of things. I think that it's a dream fantasy and woken up to reality. Desire and fantasy is a prevalent thing in all of Lynch's works. And I think it continues in here. So, anyways, I hope you enjoy this Lynchian hangout. Sorry if it wasn't as fun as the last one. I want to get better at these, and I'll definitely be doing these at least once a week, if not more. And hopefully, I get some cool guests so I can interact with someone, since it's just me for now. But I got some good leads on some folks who might want to make an appearance. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, or until next time,